Welcome to the Deep Dive. Are you ready to explore some really fascinating history?
I know I am.
Today we'll be traveling all the way back to ancient Greece
Oh, yeah.
to explore some of the ideas of this philosopher,
Okay.
Empedocles.
Sounds fun.
And we have a great document to guide us through this deep dive.
Right.
It's called Episode 6, Empedocles.
Perfect.
But to understand Empedocles' world a little bit better, we're also going to be pulling from Episode 7, Athens, in relation to culture.
Cool.
Now, these are just two little pieces of a much larger puzzle,
Oh,
because this is just one part
okay.
of a 61-part series
Wow.
that dives into the whole history of Western thought.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So,
Where do we even begin with Empedocles?
well, imagine you're in ancient Greece,
Okay.
and everyone's trying to figure out what the universe is made of.
Okay.
And some people say it's all water.
Okay.
Others say it's air.
Mm-hmm.
But then Empedocles comes along,
Uh-huh.
and he says, nope, they're FUR, four basic elements: earth, air, fire, and water.
Those sound kind of familiar.
Exactly. And they became the classical elements,
Oh, wow.
appearing in ancient myths, modern fantasy stories,
Yeah.
everywhere.
I can see that.
Empedocles was way ahead of his time.
Okay, so he's got these building blocks.
Right.
What did he think made them do stuff?
Well, he believed that these elements were constantly mixing and separating,
Mm-hmm.
driven by two powerful forces: love and strife.
Love and strife.
Yes. Love brought things together,
Okay.
creating harmony,
Mm-hmm.
while strife pulled them apart, causing chaos.
Oh.
It's like a cosmic dance-off.
Okay. So the universe is just love and strife battling it out
Yeah,
with earth, air, fire, and water caught in the middle.
that's a great way to put it.
All right.
And this constant push and pull between love and strife created cycles of creation and destruction.
Okay.
Empedocles saw the universe in constant flux,
Stuff always changing.
always changing.
So that's pretty different.
It is, from how we see the universe today.
And that's what makes exploring these early philosophers so interesting. They're
Right.
grappling with huge questions.
Yeah.
Using the knowledge they had at the time.
Now, speaking of grappling with huge questions,
Yeah.
Empedocles also had some interesting thoughts about reincarnation, right?
Oh, absolutely. He believed that souls could be reborn into different living beings,
Uh-huh.
even plants.
Lance?
He imagined it as a cycle of purification with the soul working its way towards ultimate freedom.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you telling me he thought you could come back as like a tree?
Precisely.
Wow.
Empedocles saw each life, in whatever form, as a chance for the soul to learn and grow.
Okay, so that's a very different take
It is.
on life and death.
Yeah.
Now, to understand these philosophers a little better, we need to understand their world.
Okay.
You mentioned Episode 7, Athens, in relation to culture, right?
Yes.
What was going on in Athens at the time?
Well, think of 5th century BC Athens as this bustling, energetic city, a bit like a modern metropolis. It was a center of trade,
Okay.
especially maritime commerce.
Maritime commerce.
Which was booming thanks to,
Wait, why was maritime commerce such a big deal back then?
well, remember, this is the Bronze Age.
Right.
Bronze is made from copper and tin,
Okay.
and not every region had those metals.
That's true.
This created a huge need for trade,
Yeah, right.
and cities with strong navies, like Athens, thrived.
So, okay.
It's like controlling the internet or the railroads today.
Wow.
You control the flow of goods and information.
So Athens was like the Silicon Valley of the ancient world.
Yeah, that's a great comparison.
I like that.
This economic power led to a flourishing of culture and ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but it also brought social changes
Okay.
and the decay of traditional beliefs.
Interesting.
People were questioning everything,
Mm-hmm.
which paved the way for new philosophies like those of Empedocles and the other pre-Socratics.
So it's fascinating
It is.
how economics and philosophy can be so intertwined.
Absolutely. And it's a great example of how context shapes ideas.
Uh-huh.
To understand Empedocles,
Yeah.
we need to understand the world he lived in,
Okay.
this world of trade,
Yeah.
change, and intellectual curiosity.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we've got this picture of Athens
Yeah.
as this vibrant hub of trade and idea.
Right.
Like a real melting pot
Yeah.
of different cultures and beliefs.
Yeah.
How did that affect the way people thought about, well, everything?
Well, it's like dropping a bunch of puzzle pieces from different boxes into one big pile.
Yeah.
People were exposed to new ways of life, different customs,
Right.
challenging ideas from all over the Mediterranean.
Okay.
It forced them to re-examine their own assumptions about the world.
So I can imagine that led to some
Oh, yeah.
pretty heated debates.
Absolutely. Think about it.
Right.
For centuries, people had relied on myths and traditions to explain the world around them.
Right.
But with all this new information and interaction,
Yeah.
those old explanations started to feel,
Yeah.
well, a bit simplistic.
So they needed new answers.
They did.
New ways of understanding the universe.
Okay.
And that's where these pre-Socratic philosophers like Empedocles come in.
That's right.
They were really trying to find natural explanations for things.
Yeah.
You know, explanations based on observation and reason,
Exactly.
rather than accepting those old stories at face value.
Yeah.
So it's like they were the original scientists,
That's a great way to think about it.
in a way.
They were asking questions like, what is the world made of?
Mm-hmm.
What are the fundamental principles that govern the universe?
Okay.
What is the nature of reality itself?
And these were all questions that everyone could ponder,
Yeah.
regardless of background,
Yes.
social status.
Precisely. And this spirit of open inquiry,
Uh-huh.
this willingness to question and debate.
Was a hallmark of Athenian culture.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons why Athens became such a center of learning and innovation.
So it wasn't just about trade and economics.
No.
It was about this
Yeah.
whole new way
Yeah,
of thinking about the world.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
getting back to Empedocles,
Okay.
one of the things that sets him apart is his focus on the idea of constant change and transformation.
Uh-huh.
Remember his theory of love and strife?
Oh, yeah.
Those forces
Mm.
weren't just abstract concepts.
Right.
They were driving forces behind the ever-shifting nature of reality.
Okay, so how did that play out in his philosophy?
Well, for example,
Okay.
he believed that the four elements
Right.
were constantly combining and separating,
Yeah.
forming different substances and objects.
Okay.
Nothing was truly permanent. Everything was in a state of flux.
So it's almost like
Yeah.
he was anticipating modern physics with its emphasis on
Right.
energy and transformation. It's amazing how these ancient ideas
Yeah.
can sometimes foreshadow scientific discoveries centuries later.
Right.
But what's really interesting
Okay.
is how Empedocles applied this idea of change to the human soul.
Oh, right.
Yes.
His reincarnation theory.
Yeah.
So if the soul is always changing,
Right.
always transmigrating,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a fixed self?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that philosophers have debated for centuries.
Okay.
Empedocles believed that the soul went through a process of purification,
Mm-hmm.
gradually shedding its impurities as it cycled through different forms of life.
Okay. So each life is like a step on a ladder
Yeah.
leading towards a purer state of being.
That's one way to interpret it.
Okay.
And it's a concept
Yeah.
that you find in various spiritual and philosophical traditions,
Yeah.
even today.
It's fascinating how these ancient ideas about change,
Yeah.
transformation, and the journey of the soul
Right.
still resonate with us today.
It really is. And it highlights the enduring power of these pre-Socratic thinkers.
Okay.
They were asking the big questions, the questions that humans have grappled with for millennia.
Mm.
And their insights continue to spark our imaginations
Yeah.
and challenge our assumptions about the world.
Now, speaking of big questions,
Yes.
how did Empedocles' ideas about love and strife fit into this broader context of
Right.
pre-Socratic thought?
Yeah.
Were other philosophers wrestling with
Yes.
similar concepts? Yeah, it's amazing how they came up with these ideas without like all the tools and technology we have today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And while Empedocles was focused on love and strife,
Uh-huh.
other pre-Socratics were exploring
Yeah.
different forces and principles
Right.
that they believed governed the universe.
Okay.
For instance, Anaximander.
Anaximander.
He thought everything came from a boundless, undefined source he called the Eperon.
The apron. That sounds a little complicated.
Well, it is a bit abstract,
Yeah.
but essentially,
Okay.
Anaximander believed that the Operon
Okay.
was the origin of all things,
Okay.
and that from this formless source, opposites like hot and cold, wet and dry,
Okay.
emerged and interacted to create the world we know.
So different philosophers, different ideas about
Totally.
what makes the universe tick.
Yeah, it must have been exciting to be a part of
Yeah.
these discussions.
I have to imagine.
Oh, just a giant brainstorming session with everyone throwing out their theories about
Yeah.
the nature of reality.
Yeah. And these weren't just,
Right.
like ivory tower
Yeah,
debates.
exactly. These ideas were filtering down into society, influencing art, politics,
Wow.
even everyday life.
So what we're really talking about is like a revolution.
It is
Yeah.
in thought,
Exactly. The pre-Socratics were challenging the old ways of thinking.
paving the way for the golden age of Greek philosophy that would come later,
Right.
with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle.
They were asking big questions that continue to fascinate us today,
They do.
right? Questions about,
What is the nature of reality?
yeah,
What is the origin of the
where's
universe?
the meaning of life?
Yeah, all those big questions.
Almost like they were handing down a torch,
Yeah,
a flame of inquiry that's still burning today.
that's a beautiful way to put it. And you can see how
Yeah.
Empedocles' focus on change and transformation fits into this
Yeah.
broader intellectual landscape.
Uh-huh.
He was wrestling with these
Yeah.
same fundamental questions, but approaching them from a
All
unique
right.
perspective.
And it's remarkable how some of his ideas,
I know.
like the four elements,
Yeah.
cycles of creation and destruction, have really had such staying power.
It is.
You know, even in like
Yeah,
popular culture.
absolutely. And that's a testament to the power of these ancient ideas
Right.
to capture our imaginations and inspire new ways of thinking about the world.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Empedocles,
Okay.
what are some key takeaways?
Well, first and foremost, I hope they'll appreciate the audacity and creativity
Yeah.
of these
Yeah.
early philosophers they
Mhm.
were working with.
Yeah.
Limited information,
Right.
but they weren't afraid to ask
Mm-hmm.
bold questions and come up with
Yeah.
radical new ideas.
They were true pioneers of thought.
Exactly. And while some of their ideas
Yeah.
might seem strange or outdated today,
Yeah.
they were grappling with
Mm-hmm.
fundamental issues
Yeah.
that are still relevant,
Yeah.
questions about
Yeah.
the nature of change, the search for meaning,
Mhm.
the relationship between humans and the cosmos.
And it's that spirit of inquiry,
Yes.
that willingness to question and explore, that's their most enduring legacy.
Absolutely. So to anyone listening, especially those new to history or philosophy, right?
Don't be intimidated by these ancient thinkers.
Yeah.
Their ideas are an invitation
Okay.
to join a conversation that's been going on for centuries.
Wow.
And who knows, you might even find
Yeah.
some of your own assumptions challenged
I like that.
along the way.
That's a great point. This deep dive has just been a taste
It has.
of what's in store for you in this 61-part series.
Wow.
We're going to be exploring the whole sweep of Western thought from the pre-Socratics all the way to modern times.
It's going to be an incredible journey,
It is.
filled with fascinating figures,
Yeah.
mind-blowing ideas,
Right.
thought-provoking questions.
So buckle up.
Yes.
Get ready to dive deep.
Into the history of ideas.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.